Tēnā koe. Imagine this scenario. You're a midwife, delivering babies in the heartland of Ngāti Porou territory on the rugged east coast. Here, 88% of the population are Māori, and you have over 50 wahine on your books each month. While the culture here is rich, poverty is rife. Many of the homes have no power, and you've helped deliver babies in cold, uninsulated homes far too often. Now imagine your region is hit by a severe cyclone. In fact, climate change scientists estimate that 1 in 100-year weather events will now be occurring 17 times per decade. And now you're completely cut off from your birthing whānau. You literally throw on a backpack, find a quad bike and drive for hours through treacherous conditions, road slips, flooding, to try and get to your birthing woman. But for some, you can't reach. Now they're all alone birthing, and the implications are severe. Women are 14 times more likely to die in the aftermath of a climate crisis than men. The United Nations estimates that pregnant women are among the most vulnerable community during a climate crisis, with Indigenous women further directly threatened. And that's because these events act as a health threat multiplier, amplifying existing health inequities to our most at-risk populations. However, despite international studies evidencing climate crises as the direct threat towards achieving global targets for maternal mental and physical health, there is currently no systemic framework that exists addressing maternal inequity and climate crisis response. New Zealand ministers recently addressed the International Commission on Women about this and the disproportionate impact it has on our Māori wahine. And yet, wahine, pregnant women, midwives, they're not even mentioned once in our National Disaster Resilience Framework, the guiding document for crisis response here in Aotearoa. The lack of what the evidence shows us, or the gap between what the evidence shows us and what our lack of policy, action and planning is doing, it's medically unsafe, it's economically unsafe, it's culturally unsafe, it's generationally unsafe. My research, the first of its kind in Aotearoa, uses the voices of pregnant women, their whānau and their midwives to build a comprehensive framework, a practical framework for crisis response practitioners to utilise and implement during future crisis response procedures. A blueprint that responds to urgent calls here in Aotearoa and throughout the Pacific nations. Because that scenario I described at the beginning, that was the reality for our only community midwife on the East Coast during Cyclone Gabrielle. If left unaddressed, maternal inequity has the potential to represent an even bigger threat to global development than the climate crisis itself. Ngā mihi nui.
Kia ora, Sarah. Any questions for Sarah?
Kia ora. Well, as you know, New Zealand has a very, very good lead maternity care system. And all over the world, even in third world countries, traditional methods are also really, really great. So how does this work? How would your work actually fit on this global scale in terms of impact?
Good question. And I think we really need to be mindful about the potential for what we're doing can then be picked up and applied in other communities throughout the world, because what my work suggests is that, and I've done this in other crisis response research around young people in crisis, and with women and midwifery in this maternity space, it's important that it applies to the local people and that the local voices have a voice at the table. The local frameworks are important there. So what would work here in Aotearoa may well work in other Pacific nations as well, but we just need to be mindful when applying further than that, that we're working with the local voices, and then how that fits within a practical framework will be different to Aotearoa, and it will have to be because we've got different local voices there. But yeah, that's my response, yeah.